Welcome back to Malt Mondays. Today is the second Malt Monday, and as I mentioned in last week's episode, today I am profiling the Shackleton blended malt Scotch whiskey. Now, I don't drink many blends, many blended malts. I figure there's way too many single malts out there to learn, to discover, to enjoy. That why go for a blended mix? But this one in particular has a fascinating story. I just love the backstory to this, the history to this. So I haven't seen this available in Canada. I did pick it up on a recent trip back home, and as you can see, it's I purchased this at Heathrow. And when you do buy Heathrow Airport, when you do buy, I think this is considered a travel size, not the miniature, but the large travel size. They do come in 1 liter bottles, so you do get a little bit more. I think price point for this, I believe I paid around £40 for this. But I have seen them as low as 20 when they're on offer. But yeah, the Shackleton blended malt whiskey. Now, this is a how can I say it? It was something that was released a few years ago in commemoration of Ernest Shackleton's 1907 expedition to the South Pole. It was he didn't quite make it. He quit, to really save the lives of his crew, 100 miles from the South Pole itself. When he started the voyage or the expedition, he commissioned or he purchased, I think it was 23 cases of McKinley's old malt. To take with him, bottled at 47.3%, to withstand the cold and to prevent it from freezing. So when he abandoned his camp in 1907, he left a number of bottles behind. And it wasn't until 2007 that these bottles were recovered. They were sent back to Scotland and underwent testing. And to figure out how was the whiskey produced, what type of oak barrels were used. And it was Richard Patterson of Mackay and White who was basically commissioned to recreate this 1907 whiskey. And so the original was, I believe, was a single malt, but Richard Patterson, in recreating this whiskey, actually sourced a few different malts and created a blend to try to replicate the taste profile. And I believe primarily the malts he used were from the distilleries at Glenmore and Dalmore. And Richard Patterson is pretty. He's pretty good at what he does. He's known as the nose in the industry. There's tons of videos on YouTube. You can watch him at work, and you can very entertaining. Spins a great story and really conveys a love for malt whiskey. There is an interview as well. I'll try to find it and link it below. It's actually a cigar video where he talks about his love for cigars, but at the same time really delves into his lifelong involvement with Scotch and his family's involvement with Scotch. And talking of cigars, I'm enjoying right now one of my favorite brands, Perdomo, the 20th anniversary. So it's I don't have a very early start tomorrow, so I am enjoying a larger Vitola. But so getting back to the Shackleton, this is bottled at 40%. So unlike the original that Shackleton took with him to the South Pole, bottled at 47.3, this is bottled at 40%. And again, it is a blend. It's not a single malt. So So unlike the Ardbeg last week, I will not be adding any water to this. I know from experience, as you can see, I've enjoyed this bottle. I won't be adding any water to this. It really doesn't need it. So let me just let it sit there and get some air. So, as I did last time, I'll go through the nose, the palate, and the finish. You can definitely tell that it is 40%. It doesn't have that punch that the Ardbeg gave on the nose. Very mellow. I'm really getting a lot of fruitiness here. I'm getting some vanilla and freshness, like a fruity freshness. Yeah, the vanilla, as I'm really breathing in, the vanilla is really hitting me here. So fairly mild. Again, it's not punching me right in the face with that alcohol. And you know what? Toffee. I'm getting some creamy toffee here as well. Alrighty, let's give it a shot. The first thing that really gets me is the creamy caramel, toffee. Not so much of the fresh fruit now. That was more on the nose. I'm not getting so much of that. I'm getting a very overwhelming creaminess. Vanilla. Yeah, this is fairly creamy. That's one thing I love about Scotch whiskey. Is that I don't know if I'm more sensitive to the creamy notes, to the vanilla, to the toffee, to the caramel, but I really pick up on those quite strongly, and they come through quite well in this. As a blend, I'm finding it, or not just because it's a blend, but I do find that the blends I have had compared to the single malts, I find the single malts just a little smoother. I do find that the blends tend to, for me anyway, the blends do tend to err a little bit more on the side of, I don't want to say harsh, unfinished. It's almost like all the different blends haven't quite, the different malts haven't quite blended together. Not that it's impacting the taste or the flavors negatively, but I'm noticing a slight, for lack of a better term, a slight rougher edge that I don't always find with a lot of single malts. The finish doesn't linger. I'm getting a little bit of just a hint of peat, not too much, but the finish really dissipates fairly quickly. It doesn't linger around very long. Again, not like the Ardbeg, which left me with quite a peated finish. I'm not getting a huge amount, but what is remaining though is it's quite sweet. There is a sweetness there. Yeah, what's remaining is actually it's quite sugary. I'm getting quite a sweetness. I am more prone to really picking up on certain flavors, certain tastes, like salt. I rarely use salt in any of my food. I find just a little bit of salt I find very overwhelming. I often find the same with foods that are sweet or have sweetness in them. I'm very much more, although I do like the creaminess, the caramel notes of Scotch whiskey. I I'm very sensitive to where they become overly sweet, or when I detect they're overly sweet, and that's what I'm getting on the finish. I'm getting a sweetness. That all being said, it's a very, very approachable whiskey. Not overly strong, doesn't pack a huge punch. For what I paid for it, I think it's great value for money. Um, some would consider that maybe perhaps a little over the top, given that you can buy single malts for relative, the same price point. But I do find it pretty good value for money. I think I paid £40. It could have been 35. I'll have to check. But yeah, I find it great value. It's very easy drinking. It's not going to overwhelm you. You're not going to walk away and say, oh wow, that was an amazing whiskey experience. It's a decent whiskey experience. And I'm still really in I would say the beginning stages of my whiskey journey, although I'm really starting to understand what it is I like and what I don't like, and I'm developing certain preferences. I'm still very much into the early stages of my journey. And I think for anybody at that stage, I think Shackleton is a great option. It won't overwhelm you. It won't overpower you. I don't know what it's like to mix. I don't mix whiskey. I don't drink, whiskey, Coke, whiskey, whatever people mix them with. The only time I will mix a whiskey is if it's a hot summer's day and I just want to have a cooler drink. I might make a whiskey soda using one of my Japanese whiskeys. But yeah, the Shackleton, very approachable, a very friendly whiskey. Nice creamy notes, nice toffee caramel flavors. Talking of caramel, I don't know how much this has been colored. There's no statement on the label I don't recall there being a statement on the box. I think there might just be a little bit of caramel coloring there. And obviously I do believe it has been chill filtered. So another reason why you really possibly wouldn't want to add water to this, other than the fact that it is 40%, so it's not going to knock you out. So yeah, Shackleton, blended malt Scotch whiskey. On the bottle it says, based on an antique blend of McKinley's rare old Highland malt whiskey, the spirit supplied to the 1907 British Antarctic expedition. And at the bottom, you've got Richard Patterson's signature master blender. On the back, actually, it's nice. So on the front of the bottle, it's embossed with Shackleton's name. And on the back, embossed, is a quote from Shackleton. I believe it is in our nature to explore, to reach out into the unknown. Ernest Shackleton. And actually, on the label, a contribution from sales of this whiskey will be made to the Antarctic Heritage Trust in New Zealand. This will support both the ongoing care of Shackleton's Antarctic base and the Trust's mission to conserve, share, and encourage the spirit of exploration, a spirit embodied by Shackleton. Great statement and a great cause. So not only are you doing yourself a favor by picking up a bottle of this, you're supporting a great cause. So it's a win-win for everybody. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to finish this, enjoy the rest of my cigar. And again, if you haven't already subscribed, I would truly appreciate you hitting the subscribe button. Share this video with anybody. And if you have any comments, if you've tried this, I'd love to hear your feedback. And any other whiskeys you think I should know about. Remember, though, I am in Canada, so my options are fairly limited. I haven't decided yet what will be the whiskey of next week's Malt Monday. I'll decide that, and I've got quite a few bottles to go through. And but until then, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Be good. Sláinte.